Shall we begin?
Welcome to the Savage MonsterCast. I'm your host, Scott Marchand Davis of Happy Monster Press.
Let's begin now.
On this week's podcast, we continue character creation with a Tremador Techno-Wizard, an Elven Leyline Walker, and a Human Juicer.
Hi, my name is Frank, and I'm playing Click, a Tremador Techno-Wizard.
So welcome. Why did you pick a Techno-Wizard?
Basically, I wanted to make a Forge from the X-Men.
That works. And why a Tremador?
And it seemed like a good fit. And it seemed like a good, for the story I was looking to put in, where he was crash-landed somewhere almost like Tom Hanks from Castaway. It would be better to have a dimensional being.
That works. We will start off with some die rolling.
Okay.
So I did send you a Roll20 link if you can hop on there. All right. So the first die roll that you're going to do is for your background, your narrative hook, a little bit of how you got to the Tomorrow Legion. So this is all going to be D20 rolls.
All right. You got it.
All right. With a 1, then, you were involved in the Siege of Tolkien, which actually makes sense for a Techno-Wizard. So the Tolkien was a high magic city in what is roughly where Minneapolis, St. Paul is in current America. And it's north of the Coalition, which is a decidedly anti-magic power in North America. So they had a huge war, which ended about a year ago, and Tolkien lost. This was not a straightforward good guys, bad guys thing. The Coalition in general are not real friendly. They're a bit on the fascist side.
Okay.
But the Tolkien guys went a little overboard in home defense, started summoning demons and things like that. So it was kind of a mess all the way around. So you can think about how you got involved in that and maybe how you got out. You also get some benefit rolls. And those benefit rolls for you, some of them are limited where you can only roll on certain benefit tables, and some of them you can roll on any benefit table you want.
Okay.
So the ones that you are limited, you have 3 rolls that you can only use on one of 3 tables: Education, Enchanted Items and Mystic Gadgets, and Magic and Mysticism. You can do 1 on each, or 2 on one and 1 on another, or all 3 on one, whichever you prefer.
Okay.
So enchanted items and mystic gadgets is just what it says on a tin. You will end up with some magic items, which are cool things that you're going to be very good at using.
Okay.
Magic and mysticism is going to boost your magical powers. So it might get you more power points. It might get you greater capabilities. It might get you extra powers, things like that.
Okay.
And then education and experience and wisdom. Education tends to be sort of academic training. It's most likely going to get you some skills. And experience and wisdom is more like going to be road scholar things that you picked up while you've been kicking around in North America.
Okay.
So where would you like to start?
Oh, we're going to start on the magic items. Toys are always fun.
Toys are always fun. So give me another D20. All right. With a 13, you get a magic optic system. So basically you have the magical version of night vision goggles, which do all kinds of cool stuff. Let's see. Magic optic systems, +2 to sight-based notice checks, and you have the ability to use dark sight, far sight, and detect arcana with this thing. So it's pretty slick.
It's pretty slick.
All right. So that's 1 roll. You get 2 more that you can roll on one of those 4 tables. What would you like to do next? So that's education, experience and wisdom, magic, or more magic items.
Let's do the magic.
All right, roll it. That you get your choice, because it's always good to roll a 20. Okay, so here are your options. You get 5 extra power points. Your weird science / techno wizardry skill gains the effect of the marksman edge, so you're basically better at shooting things with it. You get 1 additional power, which can be higher than novice rank, which is pretty cool. So you can get something that we would not normally have access to at this point. You can get the rapid recharge edge, where you get your power points back sooner. You can choose one of your powers that automatically gets a raise. So you don't, and if you succeed at all, you get whatever the effect of the raise is. That's also pretty cool. You can reduce the power point cost of your powers by 1 whenever you get a raise. All your damage dealing spells do mega damage, which is also pretty cool. Or you get +2 damage whenever you're doing any kind of damaging spell. Lots of good options there. There's no real bad choices in this table.
No, there aren't. I'm going back and forth between the additional power and the rapid recharge.
Tough call, but of those two, I'd lean towards the additional power because, like I said, you can get powers that are higher rank than you would normally have access to.
Let's do that.
All right. So that leaves you with one more roll that you can roll on one of these two tables, or you can roll on education and or experience and wisdom.
What did the experience and wisdom do again?
Usually most likely you'll get an edge of some kind.
Okay.
So you'll get some additional thing, luck's a possibility, danger sense, connections, things like that. And education tends to be more likely you're going to get some skills.
Yeah, I think he's pretty buffed on the skills already. So why don't we do that, the Rhodes Scholar one?
Experience and wisdom, roll it. Okay, with an 8, you actually do get the danger sense edge.
Woo.
So you have an uncanny ability to tell when there's trouble. That actually kind of makes sense with your background of being a loner. You were out on your own for a long time. You would be very alert to things happening around you.
Yes, I have the awareness of a rabbit.
All right, you get two more. You get 2 more rolls. You can still use the tables that we just talked about, but there are other tables that you can also jump into as well if you want to go a little more diverse. Your additional choices are body armor, which can either give you new armor or buff up the armor you have. Close combat weapons, if you want to do something close combat. You can roll on cybernetics, but I wouldn't recommend it because it kind of screws up your power.
No, I'm not. Yeah, we're going to skip that.
Ranged weapons, just what it says on the tin. Training, which also tends to be kind of skills based, but sometimes edges. It's a little more combat oriented than education usually.
Okay.
And Underworld and Black Ops. Or you could go for more magic items, more magic, education, experience, and wisdom. You've got 2 more rolls. What would you like to do with them? Now, just so you know, as a techno wizard, you start out with a telekinetic revolver and adventure survival armor. So you're not starting out completely unarmed. You do not currently have a close combat weapon, however. That may not be an issue. You might want to be a hang back kind of guy, but it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to end up more let the meat shields go up there and fix them when they break.
Sounds good.
So I'm not too worried about. Well, okay. Refresh my memory. Can revolvers be used in close combat?
They can. They would be using your fighting skill, but pistol scale weapons can be used in close combat.
Okay. Let's do the education one.
Okay. Roll it. Okay. You have 5 extra skill points to spend, which is good because you don't get as many skill points in Adventure Edition as you did in the previous one. However, they're educational skill points. So you can only spend them on smarts, knowledge type skills.
Okay. Although that frees up the other ones to do other things with.
Yep. You can also spend them on the healing skill or on the research skill, which is actually an interesting one because as far as I know, nobody in the party has any decent research at this point. That might be one to put a point or 2 in. If you got to do any academic work, we got nobody for that. All right. And one last roll. What would you like? Body armor, close combat weapons, education, mystic gadgets, experience and wisdom, magic, ranged weapons, training, underworld, and black ops.
What does the underworld and black ops do?
It's basically skills or edges that are associated with being in the darker side of the world. So you might get thievery skill, you might have black market connections, you might be a jack of all trades, you might be an assassin.
Let's try that.
All right. Get the first person to roll on that one.
Well, I figured that might be another one where spending that time alone, he learned how to break into a building, that kind of thing.
That one. Okay, no, this is actually very fitting. You pick up the MacGyver edge. So basically you can cobble together, in addition to being able to cobble together magical gadgets, you can also cobble together conventional gadgets out of random parts. It also boosts your repair 1. So you now have an absurd repair D12 plus 1. Okay,
so I have my repair is now D12 plus 1?
Your repair is now D12 plus 1, which is just nuts. So basically, if it exists, you can fix it.
I've made Forge.
Pretty much, yeah. You can whip together any sort of device you like. Okay, you also get as a Trimador, you also get your choice of one of 3 skills at D6: hacking, cybernetics, or electronics. One note, your repair of electronic devices is limited by your electronics skill. So that might be one to throw a D6 at.
opening the sheet I had here because I did. Okay. Did you modify things a little bit from the Savage Rifts?
Had to adapt it to the Adventure Edition.
Okay. Yep. No worries. I had done Electronics, Arcana, and Engineering.
Yep. So Repair is basically engineering. You've got Occult. So let's throw in Electronics then.
Okay.
All right. So next up would be attributes. You have 5 attribute points. Everything starts at a D4. What would you like to boost and how much?
Okay. So I took Smarts up to a D8.
Okay.
Ability to a D6.
Yep.
Spirit to a D6. And I had Strength at a D6, but I'm thinking about changing that to Vigor.
That's probably better. And then Strength is D4.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. So that puts your base toughness at 5. With your armor, that goes up to 9. Okay, so hindrances. I threw in this delusional, thinks your constructs are alive. What did you think about the major phobia of abandonment?
I think I want to do that.
And you have the automatic quirk that you talk to your constructs. That leaves you with 1 available minor hindrance that you can throw in.
Okay.
So just kind of scanning through some of the minor hindrances here that might be appropriate. Big mouth would be interesting for kind of the socially inept that you can't keep a secret because you've been out on your own forever.
Actually, that might also fit in with the fact that he talks to his gadgets and hums and whatnot.
Big mouth it is. All right. So you'll tend to blurt things.
I kind of do that anyways. So
that gives you 2 points or possibility of taking 2 edges. One of them I already gave you. I modified Beast Friend to make it Techno Beast Friend. So you have a Cyber Cat, and that is an autonomous creature that you can order around. So that would be your drone. So you can either pick up another edge with the other point. You could boost one of your attributes, or you could spend it on skills.
Okay.
And then you also have the Danger Sense and MacGyver that you picked up from the die rolls. And then you have the Techno Beast Friend, which also allows you to make friends with other robots that you might encounter.
Which edge was that one?
It's the Beastmaster edge.
Oh, okay.
I revised it to be robots rather than animals.
Okay.
And that gets you a Beast Companion, which I changed to a Robot Companion so that you can have your drone type critter.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I think I was looking at the Scrounger edge.
Scrounger is definitely a good one. And that definitely fits.
If he can build everything, he's going to need to be able to find everything.
Right. You do need the luck edge for that, though. So you could take luck now and then pick up scavenger next. And luck's a good edge because that gets you extra bennies.
Let's do that then.
All right. Luck it is. All right. So before we get on to skills,
yes.
your revolver gets a minor techno wizard upgrade. So you've tinkered with it a little bit. So there are several different options for what that can be. You could have +1 to shooting, +1 to damage, 5 extra power points that can be used for that device, make it half the weight, or add a trapping. For example, you could make it a fire pistol instead of a standard pistol.
I think right now we're going to go with the +1 to shooting.
All right, got that. All right, so you have an absurd number of starting skills at this point. You have athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth all at D4. That's standard for the Adventure Edition. You have techno wizardry at D8, occult at D6, repair at a whopping D12 +1, science at D6, and electronics at D6. And you have 5 skill points that you can spend on battle, occult, academics, science, research, or healing only. So let's get those spent first. What would you like to spend those on?
Okay. Those were the knowledge ones?
Yep.
What is battle?
That means you have some grasp of tactics.
Okay. Different than fighting or shooting. That's actually...
That's tactics and strategy.
Okay. And the knowledge skills I already had were...
You've got occult at D6 and science at D6.
And I'm guessing occult is the same thing as arcana?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the new version.
Did we roll the electronics and everything all together then?
Yep, you have electronics at D6 as well. That's a separate skill that's not covered by the knowledge skills that you have for those 5 points, though.
Okay. So why don't we? If I wanted to do something at a D6, it would be 2 points for that item. So a D6 of research would cost 2 points.
Right. So that would leave you with 3 for other knowledge skills.
Out of curiosity, how many machine-y people are in the party right now versus, straight up meatbags?
It's a pretty mixed bag. So we have currently a glitter boy. That's definitely a technology thing.
Okay.
We have a cyber knight, which is definitely not.
A Jedi, yep.
Yep. A ley line walker, which is also definitely not. a juicer, which kind of is kind of straddles the boundary there, and a burster, who is basically a pyrokinetic, and he's definitely a primitive type. So it's probably about 1/3 technologically oriented folks, and 2/3, I guess, about half non-technological, and you're right on the boundary between the two.
Okay, so why don't we do a D6 in research,
Okay.
a D6 in healing.
Okay. Always useful. And that leaves you with 1 point for something else. So you could boost occult or science, or you could pick up a D4 in battle, or a D4 in academics.
What kind of role would academics be?
History, literature, art.
Why don't we do a D4 in battle?
Okay. It's also one I don't think anybody has picked up as yet. All right. So that leaves you with...
keeping with the fact that I was at the conflict and lost.
Yep. So that leaves you with 12 skill points for whatever else you want. So what would you like to spend those on?
Okay. We're going to blow a bunch of those pretty quickly.
Okay. Go for it.
Well, okay. I don't have anything in notice yet, do I?
You actually have a D4 in notice by default. All Adventure Edition characters do.
Okay. We're going to bring that up to a D6.
Okay. That's 1 point.
We're going to take a D6 in shooting.
Okay. That's 2 points.
We're going to take a D6 in fighting. Brings us down to 7.
Yep.
A D6 in driving.
That's helpful. We don't have anybody who can drive yet. All right. Takes you down to 7.
Take a D4 in piloting.
Okay. 6.
Do any of the things I have right now, I had a D8 in lockpicking.
That would be thievery. So that would cost, with your agility of 6, that would cost 4, which would take you down to 2. Probably a good thing to have, though. Okay. So 2 points left.
If I took 2 points left?
2 points left.
So I'm at a D8 on smarts. So
yes, if you wanted to take your techno wizardry up to a D10, that would be 2 points.
Either that, or I could bump the alt and the electronics to D8s.
You could. Also a good choice. Want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that for now. I always err on the well-rounded side.
The second to last thing then is choosing your powers.
And help us all. That was a long list before.
It was, yeah. You get 3 powers plus the extra one that you picked up with your rolls. And they're from the Techno Wizard list, but the Techno Wizard list covers a lot of ground. So what would you like? Your baseline powers do have to be novice level powers, but the extra one does not. So you can pick something that's higher than novice for that, which is one of the cool things about it.
Okay.
So, and these first 4 powers, you have a pre-built gadget for that you can power with your intrinsic power points, which you have 15 of.
Okay. Well, we don't need Farsight because we've got goggles for that.
Same thing with Darksight. Yep.
I am very not offensive right now, so I should probably do something about that.
So if you want to take your higher than novice power and you want to get offensive, Blast is an excellent choice.
Let's do that.
So you have a blast device. Do you want to trap that with anything? Fire, ice, energy, bees, whatever.
It's bees.
It can totally be bees.
What does a trap do?
Trapping basically just gives it a flavor. In some cases, it might be beneficial, and in some cases, it might hurt you. For example, if you're fighting a fire elemental, hitting it with a fireball isn't going to do a whole lot of good, but hitting it with an ice ball would do a ton of good.
Why don't we say energy for now?
All right. So it's just straight up energy. Check. That leaves you with 3 novice powers to choose from. So protection is a novice power that basically adds armor to you. That's more defensive, obviously. Blind and bolt are both offensive powers. Boost lower trait can be an offensive power because you can actually basically nerf people. It's a utility power. Burst is another good offense power. That's basically a cone blast. Confusion is fun for messing up your opponents.
Let's do boost lower for 1.
Yep, always a good one.
Is it armor or is it protection?
It's now protection. It used to be armor.
Trying to think of how often am I going to stop to cast protection? But yeah, actually, we'll do protection.
Okay,
that's actually something nice to build into a gadget.
Right, and it's also one you can apply to other people as well. It's not limited to you. Another fun offensive one is Havoc, which basically blasts people away from you and also causes them to be distracted so they're not working as well. So repulsion field, chaos, all kinds of good stuff like that. Smite, which makes a weapon more effective. Environmental protection, which protects you from the elements. Healing, always handy. Light and obscure, also always handy. deflection, which makes you harder to hit rather than harder to damage. That's and then bolt, which is basically a single shot rapid fire, single target kind of attack. Think magic missile.
You know what? I'm gonna do bolt instead of protection.
Okay.
Every mage should have magic missile.
And that leaves you with 1.
And
let's see, blind, stun.
I'm thinking for now healing. I've got some ideas when he advances a little. But
okay. And don't forget, you can whip up a gadget that has any of these powers on the fly, even in the middle of battle. That's one of the cool things about the Techno Wizard. That Arcane Machinist, you can grab any power, including ones you don't have access to because of your level. It's just harder to build that way. So one thing to note in Adventure Edition that's actually really cool is that powers can be modified. So let's take Blast as an example. So your Blast power by default costs you 3 power points. But you can add a power point to make it a larger blast. You can make it a smaller blast at will. You can add 2 power points to cause it to do an extra d6 of damage. Those are specific to blast, but there's also a whole bunch of other ones, like you can add 2 points to make it a mega damage blast, which can be very handy depending on who you're fighting. You can add points to make it armor piercing. You can add points to cause the target to be slowed or sped up. You can add points to make it lingering damage. There's a lot, increase the range, make it selective so it doesn't hit everybody in the blast. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do by adding on additional.
Holy Moses. Is that in this book?
That is in the Savage Worlds Adventure Edition book. So there's some extra stuff you can do, and I'll point out things as we go during the game if it looks like something that would be useful.
Okay.
The last thing to do in game is to roll for your money. So I need a 2d4, please. So you have the princely sum of 500 credits, which in current Earth technology money is basically about $50.
Awesome.
On the plus side, in addition to your revolver and your armor, you also have a survival pack and a toolkit. On the minus side, those things are really heavy. So you're going to want to drop your survival pack and your toolkit if you actually get into any kind of combat situation, because you are carrying around 80 pounds of gear right now and you're not that strong.
No, I did do that to myself, didn't I?
But yeah, as I said, you can drop the gear, or you could even probably talk your glitter boy into strapping it on to his back or something like that, since he has absurd strength and is wearing a 10-foot tall suit of power armor. He's not even going to notice. And at some point, you might even end up with a vehicle. Who knows?
That is the hope. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bob, and I'm playing Quinlan, who's an elven leyline walker.
Why did you pick a leyline walker?
Oh, okay. Classically, I like spellcasters, but I wanted to try something that's sort of situationally based and land-based, and sort of that whole sort of like overpower and sort of explosive effect. Because I haven't played a caster like that in a long time, and I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be fun to try it out so that I could do all the explosive stuff and to just play sort of a different take on a normal blaster caster.
And why did you pick an elf?
Classically, I like elves thematically, sort of just being nimble, sort of keen in body and mind, and just taking the long view of things, but also just innately loving and respecting magic. So I wanted a character that was sort of wild and a little more primal than a human, but still very magically apt. Maybe not as strong, but a character that definitely uses its magic and, is sort of druidy because of the earth merging thing, but also, a hard caster that will defend himself and his friends if he has to.
Okay. So to start off, we've got some D20s to roll.
All right. Am I rolling or are you rolling? Or are we using
You are rolling. And you'll have some choices to make about what to roll on, but not for this first one. This first one is a shorthand for your background. So give me a D20 and we'll see what it comes up with.
16.
Okay, so this one is called Should Old Acquaintances. So there's a chance encounter that left you with a strong impression, and that eventually led you to join the Tomorrow Legion.
Very cool. Okay, I can work with that.
Now, the other 5 rolls are your choice from a set of tables, and each of these tables gives you some cool benefit based on what you roll. You get 5 rolls. 3 of them you have to choose from among education, enchanted items and mystic gadgets, experience and wisdom, and magic and mysticism. And the other two, you have more choices than that, but you can always go back to those as well if you want to add more. But the first three have to be on one of those four tables. Where would you like to start?
I think as a wizard, I definitely want to be pretty intelligent, and I definitely want to be good with being magical and mystical. So let's start with education, just to see how book smart I am.
All right, give me a D20.
14.
All right, that's interesting. You actually have some background in hacking.
So sort of a technomancer, perhaps.
Oh, at least a little bit. You have some, but either before you got your arcane powers or at some point you had you acquired some hacking skill. So specifically, that one is going to give you gives you hacking D8 and a +2 when you're trying to hack through security.
Very cool.
So that's a little freebie skill for you.
That's really awesome.
Okay, what table would you like next?
I definitely want some magic for sure.
Okay, go ahead and give me another D20 and we'll pull up the magic and mysticism table.
Just a 4.
Oh, that is not a bad thing because that gives you 5 extra power points.
That many?
Yep.
Definitely take them for sure.
All right, which takes your total up to 20 to start.
Would 15 have been my base if I were just the leyline walker without any of this?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So that leaves you with one more roll that has to be on education, enchanted items and mystic gadgets, experience and wisdom, or magic again.
I'm going to go for wisdom.
Okay, roll it.
12.
Okay, that's an interesting one. You are well traveled. You've been around in the world of Savage Rifts, and as a result, you have a +2 on any networking, meaning that you're kind of working the streets, or survival checks associated with being out in the world.
That's actually very useful too, sort of as a group thing.
Yep. All right. So the other two roles, you have more choices.
Okay. So what other things could I possibly go with?
So in addition to the ones, you can obviously go back to any of the four that we talked about, but you could also go for body armor, close combat weapons, which you don't actually have any of.
Right.
Ranged weapons, which you do have one of, training, which is more like practical experience. A lot of it's combat oriented, or things like woodsman, or underworld and black ops. And you have two roles that you can roll in any of those plus the original 4.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I know I struggled with melee with my last character, but at the same time, if I'm a leyline walker, I'm trying to stay out of trouble anyway. So I think I want to work on ranged, actually, just as a backup in case I run out of spells or something.
All right, sounds good, because you start out with a ranged weapon, but it's kind of pathetic.
So I got a 10 on that.
Okay, so your ranged weapon is slightly less pathetic. It has a +1 damage.
Yeah, that's an improvement.
So instead of 2d4 +1, it's 2d4 +2. So at least you have a min damage of 4.
Yeah, which is way better. In that case, I think I want to take sort of survival training. I just figure if I'm kind of well traveled, I might, be self-preserving.
Well, one other one that I would point you towards, because it's pretty awesome, is enchanted items and mystic gadgets. There's a lot of cool stuff in there that you would be particularly good at using based on your magical powers.
Okay, that's a good idea then. Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, let's roll it.
And that's going to be an 8.
That is a cool one. You have a communications band. This actually makes you more persuasive. It's kind of like a crown of leadership type thing.
Oh, okay.
So what it specifically does, so that one provides you with a +2 on persuasion rolls or performance rolls involving your voice.
Interesting.
Okay, so as an elf, you pick up the all thumbs hindrance. You're not so good with technology, but you also get a starting D6 in agility, and you get low light vision.
Both pretty useful.
So then let's start with attributes. Let's start with hindrances. What would you like as far as hindrances go? What's going to be your character's flaws?
Well, if I'm going to be sort of a leyline walker, is there an edge that would basically sort of represent kind of the fact that, like, I've sort of gone full Nova and I'm, like, tapped out and, like, useless afterwards?
That one actually kind of comes with being drained in power points, but the thing with a leyline walker is you can recharge really easily.
Oh, okay.
Especially if you're near a ley line.
Gotcha. I'm trying to think of any other hindrances that would sort of work. Can I have like a phobia of like certain technologies or certain things, kind of like Troy did?
Absolutely. What kind of, how bad is it and what are you afraid of?
I was about to say pavement, but I don't think that would work. This is hard. Let's see. Elven Leyline Walker, what would he be afraid of? Well,
giant robots?
Yeah, I mean, I can go with that.
Demon?
Like cyborgs and robots. I mean, why not? He's an elf. He likes nature. He likes being around places and working the mojo. Like, yeah, like machines and like mechanical monstrous things would probably scare the crap out of him.
Okay, so how bad do you want that to be? Because that could be a major phobia, in which case it'd be -2 on your rolls when you encounter this thing. Or it could be a minor, in which case it's -1.
I kind of want major just so I have the difficulty of role playing with it.
Okay, fair enough. So that's a major phobia, which means you might actually be a little freaked out by the glitter boy.
Nice. Like, oh, what is this?
What am I dealing with here? I'm a little freaked out. I'd allow you to get acclimated to him over time, though. But to start out with, you'd be a little freaked out all the time.
Fair enough.
Okay, so other hindrances, you can take 2 more minor ones. I don't know if you want this one, but I kind of love it, and I'm not going to push it on you or anything. I just think it's amazing. It's monologuer.
So does the character like sort of like break fourth wall and like start talking to themselves?
No, it's more like the bad guy speech.
Nice. Oh, that's hilarious. What are some minor ones that you think would fit pretty well?
Cautious would be a possibility.
Okay. That's a good one. It's like, what, you get a -1 if you're in a situation that's really challenging and if you try to break concentration.
It's more of a role play thing where you're not going to jump in with both feet. Hesitant, on the other hand, is a little more serious. It actually means you draw 2 cards in combat and take the lower one. Let's see what
Hesitant tactically could be interesting because as a leyline walker and a caster, I might not want to be the first one who's blasting, and I might want to wait for stuff to set up.
Secret is an interesting one.
Yep. So would it be that I know of a secret and I'm sort of like trying to hold it in, or that I know someone else's?
You have a secret that, if revealed, would be a major problem. Thin-skinned is an interesting one where you're not very resistant to taunts.
Ooh. I kind of like the one where you draw, 2 cards for initiative, but you have to take the worst of the 2. Hesitant.
Yep, got it. Hesitant.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
And then you could also take thin-skinned. You do get 2 minors. You could also take loyal or mean, depending on how you want to play it. Mean actually kind of counters your cool communication band, though.
What about loyal? And maybe I'm loyal to, a contact somewhere or someone else in the group.
Loyal would actually be loyal to your friends. If you want to have like a contact somewhere that you have an obligation to, you could have a minor obligation.
That would work too.
But I think loyal probably works better. It's a little easier to deal with. So let's go with loyal. So we're on to attributes. Right now, you have a D6 in agility and D4s and everything else. You have 5 points to spend on that, and you can spend 1 or 2 additional points if you want to use your points from hindrances to boost anything. As a leyline walker, smarts is key because that's your spellcasting associated attribute. It's also good for skills, but obviously anything on here is going to be important at some time or another.
Gotcha. It's basically how smart represents intelligence for a wizard.
Exactly.
Gotcha. If I have D4s and I have 5 points, how many points would it be for me to bring it to a D8? Would that be 2?
That would be 2 points.
Yeah, why don't I spend 2 to make it a D8?
Okay. All right. So that leaves you at 3 points. You could take everything else up to D6, or you could take something else up to D8 and leave something at D4, or you could use one of your points to take something D8.
I like the idea of raising a second ability to a D8. I think I want to be a little bit sort of more dexterous.
Do you want to go agility D8?
Yeah, I think that's a good move.
Okay, that actually only costs 1 because you have a D6 agility already as an elf. So you're down to 2 points now. That leaves spirit, strength, and vigor that are all at D4s at the moment.
So let's boost each of those by 1 except for strength.
Okay. That uses up all your points. You've still got 2 points to spend on edges.
Edges. All right. Let me look at the book.
So, of thoughts I had, more power points is always good, especially if you're going to be using mega powers, which you have access to and most other people don't. New powers is also always good because then you expand your repertoire of powers. And the wizard power might be kind of interesting in that you can retrap a power. So if you have, for example, blast as a fire power, you can spend an extra power point and turn that into a lightning power.
So it lets you change damage type depending on situational need.
Exactly.
Cool. I think I'd like to take that one just because I can see the versatility of it.
Okay. So that leaves you with a D8. Or sorry, that leaves you with 1 point for another edge. You start, by the way, 5 powers.
Okay. I think I want to go for more power points just so I don't run out.
So that's 25 power points that you have at that point. And then we're on to skills. So you have 12 points to spend skills. Right now, you have D8s in spellcasting and hacking, and D4s in athletics, common knowledge, notice, perception, and stealth. And that is all of your points at the moment.
I'd definitely like to boost my notice to a D6 at least.
Oh, we can definitely do notice D6. That's 1 point. Do you want to pick up either fighting or shooting?
Definitely like to pick up both, actually.
Okay. How many points in each? You can go up 1 point per die up to D8 for both of those because of your agility.
Okay. I think I'm going to do 2 in shooting and 1 in fighting then.
Okay. So that's a D4 in fighting and a D6 in shooting. So you spent 4 points now. You have 8 points remaining for other things.
All right. And do I have anything in persuasion?
You have a 4 in persuasion right now.
I'd like to pop that up to an 8 as well.
Okay. You might also consider the occult skill. So the persuasion costs you 4 to get it up to 8 because you're going above your spirit level. So you're down to 4 points now. The occult skill is basically knowledge arcana from the old version.
Okay. And how high can I go on that going 1 for 1?
You can go up to D8 with 1 for 1 for that, which costs 3, and that leaves you with 1 point for something else.
Okay, let's do that.
Occult D8, and then 1 point for one other skill of your choice.
All right. What else do I have that I haven't gone through?
You have not boosted stealth, athletics, common knowledge of the skills that you already have. Those are all at the D4 right now. Of course, there are also other skills you might want to pick up. Just kind of scanning through the skills list here. Performance might be fun. I don't think anybody else has that.
I'll take performance. As an elf, I might be able to do something charming and ridiculous and thrill a crowd. I like it.
All right, performance it is. So that's a performance at D4.
Cool.
Okay, powers. You get 5. You already have the ability to detect Arcana as a free action for no power points. And the other fun thing here is all of your powers come with the Mega version. So the Mega version is going to be a more power points, more destruction level power that you can toss out in addition to the base power. For example, if you have the base bolt power, which is kind of the magic missile type power, then the higher level power is Onslaught, which costs an extra power point, but adds 4d6 to the damage.
Oh my gods.
The mega powers are pretty awesome. The blast power, which is the fireball or the lightning ball or what have you, 4 power points, and it stacks on another 2d6 on top of the regular power.
Oh, wow.
So it goes from 2d6 to 4d6. There's a lot of nasty powers here. You are limited to novice level powers only, but that's usually a pretty long list.
It's true. I definitely want something that's like a magic missile. That's a given.
So Bolt is kind of the classic on that one. So We'll throw Bolt on there.
That's a single point, right?
Yep. It's basically 1 for 1. So powers, you get one power for 1 point. All right. So there's Arcane Protection, which is defense against arcane attacks versus straight protection, which is defense against physical attacks.
All right. Is there a chain lightning ability?
Not directly, but burst is pretty close. Burst is a cone attack, so it's more like burning hands. But did you want to throw a trapping on that bolt? Like make it fire, energy, lightning, poison, whatever?
I'll make it energy.
Okay. Untyped energy it is. So burst is kind of what you're talking about, but it's not ranged per se.
But it is like a burning hands, which is good area of effect.
Yep. Another interesting one is that kind of fits with the chain lightning is Havoc. What Havoc does is you can either do it as a cone or as a medium burst within smarts range. And anyone who is hit by it is automatically distracted, which makes them it reduces their ability to use skills. and they have to make a strength roll. And if they fail the strength roll, they are blasted away from either you or away from the center of the blast.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool and really good for close quarter stuff.
Do you want to take it lightning typed?
Definitely, yeah.
All right. That leaves you with 3 more powers. Do you want to look at anything that's more utility oriented or?
Yeah, utility's actually a good idea.
So illusion is always good. So is environmental protection, which basically protects you from fatal environments. So you can cast this and you can go underwater, you can go fly into space, jump into the outer atmosphere of a gas giant. It's only if you're actually immersed in lava or in the middle of a nuclear reactor that it starts to fail.
That's really neat. I think I should definitely take that.
All right. So environmental protection, the mega version, plus 2 power points. It also protects against all environmental effects. So you actually could stroll through the core of a melting down nuclear reactor with the mega version of environmental protection.
Geez, starting out, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the Leyline Walker is you start out with mega level powers, and mega level powers can be pretty messy. Healing is obviously always a utility level power. Mind Link is also an interesting one. You can connect people telepathically with a range of 1 mile or 5 with arrays.
I think that would actually work for my character concept, because if I'm on ley lines and I'm trying to keep things in control and whatnot, but like also have sort of a mental psychic component, that's kind of cool.
Yep, that works. Mind Link will go for it. And that leaves you with 1 more. So if you want to be really nasty and surprising, there's an underrated power that I particularly like. So I'll toss that one at you, and I'll toss one other at you too. Summon Ally lets you summon a magical servant, and as you get more powerful, the power level of that servant increases to the point where at the top level, you can do a mirror version of yourself. The other one is Burrow. What Burrow lets you do is dissolve into the earth and appear elsewhere. And
so it's earthbendy.
Yeah, you can pop up behind someone and potentially get the drop on them.
I really like that, and I like the idea of being on a ley line and moving through it that way.
Okay, Burrow it is. So that's your 5 powers. Energy Bolt, Lightning Havoc, Environmental Protection, Mind Link, and Burrow. That's a pretty versatile list.
Definitely. Kind of wacky, but I think it'll be fun.
Okay, the last thing then, as far as character creation goes, if you get your starting cash. So you can give me 1d4, and that'll multiply out to the number of credits you have. All right, so you start with 2,000 credits, which is about the equivalent of $200. So it's not going to buy you a whole heck of a lot. You also start with Leyline Light Walker Armor, or Leyline Walker Light Armor, I should say, which gives you a +3 armor at a very light weight. And it's got filtering systems to resist airborne toxins and diseases. And you start with an NGS2 survival pack, which has all kinds of good stuff in it. Rations, tent, fishing gear, short-range radio, navigation system, all kinds of interesting things. And an NG33 laser pistol, which is not a particularly great laser pistol, but it's better than nothing, especially when you're out of power points.
Cool. Is there a sort of next level up pistol that I would be proficient with that I could get just to pack more punch?
Probably not. Prices in Rifts are just absurdly high. I will check the table for you. Okay, if you want to upgrade, the next level pistol up is about 11,000 credits.
Yeah, definitely out of my range.
But fear not, because there tends to be a lot of opportunity to sponge and scavenge gear on Rift's Earth. So who knows what sort of things you might come up with.
Excellent.
As with many new podcasts, we ran into a bit of a challenge on our recording. Specifically, I completely messed up recording the character creation session for Steve, our juicer. So we got together again and talked through some of the aspects of his character so you don't completely miss out. Without further ado, let's look at our juicer.
Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm playing Lance, the human juicer.
Beautiful. Okay, so why did you pick a juicer?
So I started off reading, the framework behind it, and I figured that, the sense of urgency behind the character class would get me, involved in the game a little bit more because I'm kind of on a clock to do something awesome, or I lose my chance.
Cool. And why did you stick with human? I think you're the only human in the party at this point.
Because it kind of went along with the character concept where, I'm going for the whole thing where this guy sold himself to the juicer process in order to, get a good life for his family. And, it just seemed like if you were, any other type of metahuman sort of deal, like this would look like a bad deal to you. You probably had something else going on,
Well, that makes sense. So let's talk through some of the specifics of the character then. So you went with primarily a balance of fighting and shooting for your character.
Yes, I assume that we're going to need to do a bit of a mix of both.
And you went with the freshly juiced edge, which gives you a little bit more burn to use so you don't burn out quite so quickly.
Yeah, the way the math works out on that one, it gives me a bit of wiggle room where I can assume that I'll be around for a while without having to start that clock immediately.
Makes sense. And then if you do want to use burn, you have the burn brighter edge, which makes sure that it's worth it.
Yeah, indeed. If it ever comes down to the point where I actually need to spend one of those points, it better be worth the while.
And then you have the nifty combo, which a lot of people have pointed out is excellent in Savage Worlds Adventure Edition in particular, of the quick and level-headed edges. So quick lets you discard a card that's less than a 6 in initiative, and level-headed lets you draw 2. So the shenanigan you can pull there is, if you draw, say, a 5 and a 6, you would normally have to keep the 6, but with quick, you could discard the 5 and then draw 2 more cards and hopefully get something better.
And when that chemical rig fires up, juicers are supposed to be moving at kind of a speed that makes everyone look sluggish anyway. So I feel like that plays into the factor that this guy really is superhumanly fast.
On the hindrances front, all juicers have at least a minor death wish. But you also took wanted major coalition. So do you have an idea of what you did that has the coalition so interested in taking you down?
I am a deserter. I was, in fact, juiced in order to be a member of coalition forces. And when I got through the process and was sent out on my first mission, I realized that we were out here killing innocent people and I didn't want to be a part of it. So I left, taking my superhuman abilities and all to the other side of the fight.
And then you have arrogant, which I guess would kind of fit with that because you're looking at it and saying, I know better than the coalition does.
Yes, that, and also I know that I'm a prize for any army that wants to pick me up.
Okay. And then Ruthless Miner, how does that play into your story?
Well, I feel like this one plays in after the coalition betrayal has gone down, where he's just gotten to the point where no one's going to stand in his way of getting back at the people who put him up to doing this, because he essentially traded his life away for a cause that ended up being, horrific in standpoint.
Makes sense. And that could certainly tie in with the Death Wish as well. So talking stats, you have a very respectable D10 in agility, strength, and vigor, which is going to make you very formidable in combat. But you kept a good balance with a D6 in both smarts and spirit as well.
Yeah, I didn't want to go unbalanced on this run through. We with some of the background stuff that we rolled coming up, it just made sense that he had some spirit and some smarts to back up those physical capabilities.
And of course, being a juicer, you start out with the absolutely absurd pace of 16, which is almost 3 times the pace of a normal human.
I believe only crazies and cyber knights get up to that level without severe augmentation.
And our one cyber knight is not quite there. I think she taps out at about pace 10. Although with the speed power, she could possibly even outrun you.
Depending on how that power activates, I have no doubt they get scary as they develop up. But I don't have to activate a thing. I just am there when I need to be.
One interesting thing, which is verging on maybe overpowered with the Cyber Knight in Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, is that the quickness power is now built into speed. So by spending extra power points, you can get the extra actions, which in her build is kind of scary because she also has improved frenzy, ambidextrous, and two-fisted. So there'll be a lot of flailing away with swords in each hand.
Well, I don't rightly expect to survive so long, but split the seconds is available option to me. At the upper end of things.
That is absolutely true, and you never know. The juicer ability of uncanny reflexes gives you a -2 against all attacks, so that'll help keep you out of trouble, as will your total 15 toughness and armor combo. The juicer assassin plate throws on 7 extra armor, which is very nice. And you've got a pretty decent arsenal, in addition to the standard loadout for a juicer, which is a Wilkes 320 and a JA9 laser rifle. And a vibro sword, you also picked up the JA11 energy rifle, which gives you mega damage sniper capability, plus a shotgun blast at close range.
Yeah, I took a look at the weaponry sort of after the fact, and flipping through it, I think I was right to take some of your advice on that, where that rifle / ion cannon, kind of adaptable combo is really sort of the best bang for the buck for a starting weapon, and kind of makes me a little useful in all situations.
That one is a fun one, yeah. The Rift setting, the Megaverse, and associated characters and locations are the property of Palladium Books. Savage Worlds is the property of Pinnacle Entertainment. All other content is the property of Happy Monster Press. Find us at www.happymonsterpress.com or as Happy Monster Press on Twitter, Facebook, MeWe, and Pashpost. Theme music, Jason Shaw's Ice Cold.
Oh, for sure.